While most think noir means rain-soaked streets and winter shadows, the most suffocating noirs unfold in blistering heat. These sweaty, sun-drenched thrillers trade trench coats for tank tops as characters make fatal decisions while temperatures rise. Did you know the term summer noir first appeared in a 1975 essay that claimed heat makes characters morally unstable in ways darkness never could? Number 10. The Hot Spot, 1990. Dennis Hopper's criminally underrated neo-noir stars Don Johnson as a drifter who arrives in a Texas town during record-breaking summer heat. The film's tagline, "In a town this hot, murder isn't the only thing that burns," perfectly captures how Hopper uses triple-digit temperatures to justify escalating bad behavior. Virginia Madsen and Jennifer Connelly represent different forms of temptation in a plot that unfolds almost entirely during blistering daylight. What viewers don't know, Hopper deliberately scheduled filming during Texas's hottest weeks and forbade air conditioning even between takes, creating genuine discomfort visible in every performance. The film's infamous car hood love scene between Johnson and Madsen reportedly resulted in actual minor burns on both actors from the sun-heated metal, pain they incorporated into their performances. Cinematographer Uli Steiger recalled, "Dennis would yell, 'More sweat,' before takes, spraying the actors if they weren't glistening enough." What makes this essential viewing is Hopper's revolutionary decision to replace noir's traditional shadows with blinding sunshine that conceals through overexposure rather than darkness. Cinematographer Uli Steiger developed new techniques to film in extreme brightness while maintaining visibility of characters' expressions. The film's saturated colors create what critic Roger Ebert called visible heat, making temperature almost tangible through screen. The script features 34 references to heat, each connected to a moral lapse or sexual encounter. Johnson later admitted he nearly quit the film due to extreme conditions, but stayed because Dennis was creating something where the heat wasn't just setting, it was the main character driving everyone slowly insane. The Hot Spot bombed commercially, but found cult status among noir enthusiasts, who recognized Hopper's brilliance in reimagining noir for scorching daylight. Charles Williams' source novel, Hell Hath No Fury, had languished in development hell for decades, with Orson Welles once attached to direct, before Hopper rescued it, specifically because he wanted to make a film where heat makes everyone slightly crazy. The film's jazz score by Jack Nitzsche, featuring Miles Davis and John Lee Hooker, creates a sweltering sonic landscape that complements the visuals. Hopper intentionally cast Johnson against his Miami Vice cool persona, forcing him to appear increasingly disheveled as the film progresses. The director's instruction to Johnson was simply, "I want you to look like you're melting." Industry insiders claim the film's commercial failure stemmed partly from studio discomfort with its explicit sexuality, particularly the swimming hole scene featuring Connolly. But Hopper refused to cut a single frame. "Heat justifies behavior conventional morality condemns," he stated in his only interview about the film, "and I wasn't going to pretend otherwise." This uncompromising vision makes The Hot Spot the quintessential summer noir for viewers brave enough to handle the temperature. Number 9. Body and Soul, 1947. This boxing noir unfolds during New York's worst heat wave, with John Garfield's fighter making increasingly corrupt choices as temperatures rise. Director Robert Rossen shot genuine boxing sequences in an unair-conditioned arena with 2,000 extras, creating such authentic, sweltering conditions that several background performers fainted. The film's fight scenes remain among cinema's most viscerally sweaty, with cinematographer James Wong Howe using handheld cameras inside the ring, decades before this became standard practice. What makes this essential viewing is how it portrays summer heat as class division. Garfield's character escapes poverty through boxing, but finds success equally suffocating in different ways. Corrupt managers appear in cool, dark offices, while fighters suffer in sweltering gyms. Visual metaphor for exploitation. The film was so unflinching in depicting boxing corruption that the sports commissioners attempted to block release, claiming it would damage boxing's reputation, as if that were possible. Lily Palmer, who plays Garfield's girlfriend, later revealed she deliberately avoided cooling herself between takes, believing her visible discomfort added authenticity to scenes where her character worries about her boyfriend's moral decline. The film's final fight sequence, shot over 5 brutal summer days, required Garfield to perform actual boxing with professional fighters, resulting in 2 broken ribs that he hid from producers to avoid delays. Body and soul emerged from the collective talents of predominantly Jewish filmmakers, Garfield, Rawson, and screenwriter Abraham Polanski, all of whom would later be blacklisted during McCarthy's witch hunts. This outsider perspective infuses the film with unique sensitivity to how systems exploit individuals, using summer heat as visual metaphor for pressure to conform to corruption. The film's most devastating sequence occurs when Garfield visits his childhood neighborhood during a brutal heat wave, with children opening fire hydrants for relief, a stark contrast to the air-conditioned luxury his corrupt success has purchased. Cinematographer Howe insisted on using actual New York locations during summer, capturing authentic reactions from heat-exhausted residents who appear as extras. Garfield's performance, widely considered his finest, came at physical cost beyond the broken ribs. He performed in a real boxing ring under actual lights that raised temperatures to over 100 degrees. His visible exhaustion in later fights isn't acting. It's the result of Rawson's insistence on authentic conditions. If a character is supposed to be suffering, Rawson reportedly told producers, the actor should actually suffer. The film's final line, "Everybody dies, but I'm going to die smart," gains poignancy from Garfield's real-life fate. He died of heart failure at just 39, partially attributed to the physical strain of roles like this. His legacy lives on in this sweat-drenched masterpiece that shows how summer heat reveals the true cost of the American dream. Number 8. Double Indemnity, 1944. Billy Wilder's noir classic uses Los Angeles summer to transform Barbara Stanwyck and Fred McMurray into sweaty co-conspirators in murder. Their scheme unfolds during what characters repeatedly call the hottest summer in years, with heat serving as excuse for fatal attractions and poor decisions. Stanwyck's iconic anklet, now a noir symbol, was a late addition after Wilder realized viewers needed to understand why McMurray's character would be staring at her legs. She claims it's too hot for stockings. The film's most famous murder scene takes place in a car during night, but Wilder brilliantly stages all planning sequences during brutally bright afternoons. Censors demanded 15 script changes to reduce sexual implications, not realizing how Wilder used heat references as coded language for desire. When McMurray mentions his apartment gets hot in the afternoon, it's clearly not about temperature. What makes Double Indemnity the template for all summer noirs is how it established heat as moral lubricant, making immoral actions slide more easily into characters' minds. Edward G. Robinson's insurance investigator, notably, appears to never sweat, visually marking him as the film's moral compass, unaffected by the heat that corrupts others. The film's structure brilliantly begins and ends during nighttime, with the deadly summer heat occupying the story's middle sections, like a fever that breaks only after confession. Wilder, an Austrian Jewish émigré who fled Nazi Germany, brought European sensibility to American noir. His outsider perspective allowed him to see California sunshine as sinister rather than wholesome. Americans think bad things happen only in darkness, he reportedly told cinematographer John Seitz. But Europeans know sunshine reveals what moonlight conceals. The production faced multiple challenges beyond censorship. Stanwyck initially rejected the role, concerned about playing such an irredeemable character. McMurray likewise hesitated, fearing the murderous insurance salesman would damage his wholesome image. Both later claimed it as their finest performance. Paramount executives worried the film was too dark for wartime audiences seeking escape, not realizing they had commissioned what would become noir's defining masterpiece. James M. Cain, who wrote the novel, reportedly exclaimed after screening, "The only thing wrong with the movie is that I didn't write it." High praise for Raymond Chandler's adaptation. Chandler and Wilder's collaborative relationship was notoriously contentious, with Chandler resenting Wilder's demanding work style in the summer heat. This tension ironically enhanced the screenplay's bristling unease. The film's iconic Venetian blind shadow patterns, now standard noir visual language, were a practical solution to a technical problem: how to create interesting shadows in bright daylight scenes. This technique, born of necessity, became noir's defining visual metaphor: light that doesn't illuminate, but rather segments and imprisons. The summer setting allowed Wilder to create a noir where characters' darkest intentions occur not in shadows, but in brilliant, unforgiving California sunshine, establishing that noir was about moral darkness, not literal shadows. Number 7. In the Heat of the Night, 1967. This revolutionary film confronts racism in a Mississippi town during summer's most brutal week. Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger's investigation unfolds in temperatures repeatedly described as over 100 degrees, with characters constantly wiping sweat while navigating explosive tensions. Director Norman Jewison filmed in genuine Illinois summer conditions after being driven out of Mississippi by threats, creating authentic heat-drenched atmosphere that mirrors the story's simmering racial tensions. The film's most electric moment, Poitier's character being slapped and immediately slapping back, gained intensity from the actor's genuine discomfort in sweltering conditions. Poitier later revealed he wore specially designed clothes with cooling packs because working conditions were almost unbearable, while local extras received no such accommodation, creating visible disparity in comfort that heightened the film's racial tensions. What makes this essential summer noir is how heat functions as social accelerant, bringing long simmering prejudices to explosive boil. The investigation's resolution comes literally during the coolest night scene, suggesting rational justice requires temperature drop. The film won 5 Oscars and became the first major American noir to explicitly connect heat with racial tension, inspiring everything from Do the Right Thing to Mississippi Burning, in showing how summer intensifies America's deepest conflicts. The production itself became a mirror of the story's tensions. When filming moved to Sparta, Illinois, after Mississippi proved too dangerous, the crew faced hostility from locals suspicious of a racially integrated film crew. Poitier refused to sleep in the town, instead commuting daily from across state lines due to threats. This real-life tension infuses every frame with authentic unease. Cinematographer Haskell Wexler developed specific techniques to capture both heat and racial differences on film. He used special filters to enhance the glow of sweat on faces, and deliberately lit Poitier differently than white characters, not to create racial stereotypes, but to emphasize how differently black and white characters experience the same sweltering environment. The film's pivotal morgue scene, where Poitier's detective examines a murder victim, contains brilliant visual metaphor. It's the only air-conditioned location in the film, suggesting death is the only escape from the town's oppressive heat and equally oppressive racism. Steiger, who won an Oscar for his performance, later revealed he deliberately wore increasingly sweat-soaked clothing as filming progressed, believing his character would never admit the heat bothered him as much as the black detective's presence. Composer Quincy Jones created a score that musically represents heat through brass instruments that sound like they're struggling to play in humid conditions. The film's theme song, In the Heat of the Night, performed by Ray Charles, became a hit, bringing the film's metaphorical connection between heat and racial tension into America's living rooms. Perhaps most significantly, the film showed how summer noir could address America's most urgent social issues. While traditional noir explored individual moral corruption, In the Heat of the Night expanded the genre to examine systemic racism, using summer heat as both setting and metaphor for a nation reaching boiling point during the Civil Rights era. Number 6. Key Largo, 1948. John Huston trapped Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall in a Florida hotel during hurricane season, creating cinema's most claustrophobic summer noir. Edward G. Robinson's gangster grows increasingly unhinged as temperatures rise before the storm breaks. What audiences don't know, Huston secretly manipulated the set temperature, gradually increasing heat during Robinson's scenes to enhance his visible discomfort and sweating. The film's famous line about heat, "More harm is done under the sun than under the moon," became noir gospel for directors exploring daylight crime. Claire Trevor won an Oscar for her portrayal of an alcoholic singer, a performance enhanced by Huston's cruel direction technique. He deliberately dehydrated her on hot days before shooting key scenes to increase her authentic desperation. What makes Key Largo essential viewing is how it inverts traditional noir shadows, using blinding sunshine and later stormlight to illuminate moral corruption. The film pioneered the weather as character technique, with the approaching hurricane serving as countdown timer and moral reckoning. Cinematographer Carl Freund developed new techniques to capture humidity on black and white film, creating a visible thickness to the air that makes viewers feel trapped alongside the characters. Houston, fresh from World War II, service filming documentary footage of brutal combat, brought post-war anxiety directly into Key Largo. The film's central conflict between Bogart's disillusioned veteran and Robinson's old-school gangster represented America's uncertain future after victory. The approaching hurricane symbolizes the storm of change sweeping post-war America, with characters literally battling over who will control the wheel during crisis. The production faced genuine danger during filming of hurricane sequences. Warner Brothers constructed a massive water tank for storm scenes, but miscalculated pressure requirements. During filming, a tank wall collapsed, flooding the soundstage and nearly drowning several crew members. Bogart reportedly helped rescue a camera operator who couldn't swim. The film's claustrophobic setting, almost entirely within a single hotel, reflected both practical budget limitations and Houston's desire to create pressure cooker tension. The director deliberately kept the set overcrowded with equipment and personnel between takes, ensuring actors felt genuinely confined when filming resumed. Bacall later claimed she developed actual claustrophobia during production that lasted months afterward. Maxwell Anderson's original stage play featured no hurricane, focusing instead on gangster veteran tension. Houston added the storm, understanding that summer noir required environmental threat to externalize character conflicts. This innovation influenced countless later films, where weather becomes antagonist rather than mere backdrop. Trevor's Oscar-winning performance gains poignancy from backstage reality. Her character, forced to sing for gangsters to earn a drink, reflected her actual career desperation, as the once leading lady had been reduced to supporting roles. Houston cruelly exploited this parallel, reportedly telling her before her big scene, "Remember, this could be your last chance, too." The resulting performance, a humiliated woman singing through visible discomfort, contains meta-commentary on Hollywood's treatment of aging actresses. The film's final confrontation during the hurricane's peak established template for all subsequent noir climaxes, where environment and human violence merge into single threat. When Bogart finally confronts Robinson during the storm, their personal conflict becomes indistinguishable from nature's fury. The perfect visual representation of summer noir's central premise, that heat brings human conflicts to its inevitable, violent conclusion. Number 5. Chinatown, 1974. Polanski's noir masterpiece uses Los Angeles' drought and heat wave as both setting and central conspiracy. Jack Nicholson's sweat-stained investigation reveals corruption deeper than anyone expected. The infamous "my sister, my daughter" scene was filmed during an actual 107-degree day, with Nicholson later claiming the heat made everyone slightly insane, perfect for the film's twisted revelations. Costume designer Anthea Silbert deliberately dressed Nicholson in heavy wool suits despite the setting, creating visible discomfort that heightens tension. Faye Dunaway's character, by contrast, always appears cool and composed, a deliberate costume choice revealing her privileged relationship to the water that everyone else desperately needs. What makes Chinatown the definitive summer conspiracy noir is how heat and water scarcity function as both literal plot and perfect metaphor for moral drought. Robert Towne's Oscar-winning screenplay contains 23 references to heat and 58 to water, a deliberate pattern most viewers never consciously notice. The film's tagline could have been "Follow the sweat" instead of "Follow the money," as each character's relationship to the heat reveals their true position in the corrupt system. When Nicholson's nose bandage grows increasingly stained throughout the film, it's not just blood, it's also sweat, making his injury a visible barometer of the investigation's intensifying pressure. Polanski's personal vision darkened Towne's original screenplay significantly. Towne had written a more optimistic ending, where Dunaway's character escapes with her daughter's sister. Polanski, whose pregnant wife Sharon Tate had been murdered by the Manson family 5 years earlier, insisted evil must triumph. This conflict created one of cinema's most devastating endings, with Dunaway's character shot through the eye while trying to escape, a visual motif connecting to earlier scenes where water and vision are repeatedly linked. The production became legendary for perfectionism. Polanski demanded 35 takes of the scene where Dunaway throws water in Nicholson's face, insisting the splash pattern wasn't right. By the final take, Dunaway was near breakdown from the combined stress of heat and repetition. This tension produced one of Noir's most disturbing performances, a woman simultaneously victim and accomplice to unspeakable evil. Cinematographer John A. Alonzo created a revolutionary color palette for noir, using golden hour lighting to make 1930s Los Angeles appear permanently suspended in the hazy afternoon heat. This technique required filming primarily during narrow windows at dawn and dusk, extending the shooting schedule but creating the film's distinctive sun-baked aesthetic. The color scheme progresses subtly throughout the film, becoming increasingly yellow-brown as water becomes scarcer and corruption more apparent. The film's central conspiracy, diverting water from farmers to create artificial drought, then buying land cheaply before restoring water access, was based on actual Los Angeles history. Screenwriter Town researched extensively into the California water wars, creating a fictionalized version that captured the genuine corruption behind the city's development. This historical foundation gives the film's heat-soaked moral decay documentary-like authenticity. Nicholson's character undergoes physical transformation as the mystery unfolds. His initially immaculate appearance deteriorates alongside his moral certainty, with increasing sweat stains, bandage discoloration, and dishevelment tracking his descent into Chinatown's corrupt reality. By the devastating final scene, he appears physically beaten by both human violence and environmental conditions. Noir's perfect visualization of how summer heat breaks even the most confident detective. Number 4. Dog Day Afternoon, 1975. While technically an urban crime drama, Lumet's masterpiece qualifies as summer noir by showing how Brooklyn's most brutal August day turns a simple bank robbery into a sweaty nightmare. Al Pacino's desperate character becomes increasingly unhinged as temperatures inside the bank approach 100 degrees. Lumet banned air conditioning on set and filmed in sequence during a genuine New York heatwave, creating authentic discomfort that's visible in every frame. The film's famous improvised line, "Attica, Attica," came after Pacino actually suffered mild heat stroke between takes. Critic Pauline Kael wrote, "You can almost taste the salty perspiration," in her review. What few viewers realize is that Lumet deliberately scheduled filming during New York's hottest week, gambling that the weather would cooperate with his vision of heat-induced madness. What elevates this to essential summer noir status is how it portrays heat as democracy, affecting hostages, criminals, and police equally. The film's most brilliant sequence shows how different characters handle the same unbearable temperature, revealing their true nature. Martin Scorsese reportedly studies this film annually for its perfect pressure cooker, pacing that makes viewers feel increasingly claustrophobic as runtime progresses. Based on a true 1972 Brooklyn bank robbery, the film demonstrates how summer heat transforms mundane crime into media spectacle. The real robber, John Wojtowicz, attempted the heist to finance his male lover's gender reassignment surgery, a motivation so unexpected for 1975 audiences that many believed it fictional. Screenwriter Frank Pearson conducted prison interviews with Wojtowicz, discovering that the original crime occurred during New York's worst heat wave in decades, a detail Pearson recognized as cinematically perfect. Lumet's documentary background influenced his approach to heat as character element. He insisted on shooting exterior scenes during actual afternoon peak temperatures, sometimes delaying filming until thermometers hit desired heights. For interior bank scenes, he gradually increased set temperature throughout the shooting schedule, ensuring actors experienced authentic discomfort, matching their characters' deteriorating situation. The film's brilliant sound design captures heat through urban noise, specifically the distinctive hum of window air conditioners in surrounding buildings audible to characters who lack cooling. This sonic reminder of comfort just beyond reach creates additional psychological pressure. Lumet insisted on recording actual street sounds during the heat wave, rather than using stock effects. capturing the specific density of hot urban air. Costume designer Anna Hill Johnstone created what appeared to be identical suits for Pacino to wear throughout filming, but secretly made each subsequent version slightly tighter and from heavier fabric. This invisible progression makes his increasing discomfort viscerally believable as the day progresses. By the film's final scenes, Pacino wears a suit physically different from the opening, though viewers perceive only that he appears increasingly constrained and uncomfortable. The film's most remarkable achievement is making viewers physically experience time passing during a single sweltering day. Lumet achieves this through declining lighting quality, progressive dishevelment of all characters, increasing sweat stains, and deteriorating makeup, all precisely controlled to create subliminal awareness of passing hours. Cinematographer Victor J. Kemper developed special techniques to capture the changing quality of summer light from morning brightness through afternoon haze to evening's golden hour, creating what Scorsese called a masterclass in making time visible. When Pacino finally emerges from the bank in darkness for the film's climax, the temperature drop is palpable to viewers who have endured the day alongside him. This release of environmental pressure makes the subsequent violence more shocking, a noir technique showing how nightfall doesn't bring safety, but rather new danger once heat's restrictions lift. Number 3. The Postman Always Rings Twice, 1946. Hollywood's sexiest heatwave noir was so controversial that Catholic organizations picketed theaters nationwide. Lana Turner and John Garfield's murderous affair unfolds in a roadside diner during California's brutal summer, with temperatures rising alongside their criminal ambitions. Director Tay Garnett, a recovering alcoholic, deliberately scheduled the most sexual scenes during the hottest days on set, believing discomfort would translate to authentic tension. Turner's white outfits became so iconic that department stores reported a 200% increase in white summer dress sales the month after release. The film's most notorious scene, where Turner and Garfield plan murder while she's supposedly just serving him coffee, contained dialogue so loaded with double entendres that censors demanded 7 rewrites. What makes this noir masterpiece distinctive is how it uses heat as moral corruption. Characters repeatedly complain about temperature while making increasingly immoral choices. MGM executive Louis B. Mayer reportedly hated the film, calling it a dirty movie made by dirty minds for dirty people. Yet it grossed 10 times its budget. Modern directors from Scorsese to Tarantino cite its influence on how to film desire that leads to destruction, all against a backdrop where everyone's clothes stick to their skin and ice melts before it can cool anyone down. The film's production history rivals its plot for drama. MGM purchased James M. Cain's novel in 1934, but the Hays Production Code prevented filming for over a decade due to its explicit content. When production finally began, director Garnett's alcoholism created chaos. He would reportedly film while intoxicated in mornings, then become unable to work by afternoon, ironically forcing cinematographer Sidney Wagner to shoot the most morally corrupt scenes during magic hour sunset, giving them golden-hued beauty that subversively glamorizes the central affair. Turner, then known primarily as the Sweater Girl for her wholesome pin-up image, fought for the role against studio concerns it would damage her reputation. Her determination to play femme fatale. Cora created one of cinema's most subversive performances, a woman using perceived innocence, symbolized by those famous white outfits, as deliberate manipulation. The white clothing serves multiple functions, suggesting false purity, providing stark visual contrast to the diner's griminess, and, most importantly, showing every sweat stain and dirt smudge as her character's corruption progresses. Garfield brought genuine working-class background to his drifter character, having grown up in poverty before becoming one of Hollywood's few authentic proletariat stars. His experiences informed his performance as a man who sees criminal opportunity as his only escape from working-class limitations. The visible chemistry between Turner and Garfield wasn't entirely acting. Their off-screen tension was legendary, though both denied actual affair rumors. The film's brilliant sound design uses environmental noise to suggest mounting pressure. Ceiling fans that never provide relief, sizzling grills that mirror characters' burning desires, and ice perpetually melting in glasses. These audio cues create subliminal connection between heat and moral decay. Cinematographer Wagner developed special techniques to capture sweat on black and white film, creating glistening highlights on skin that make physical attraction visually palpable. The adaptation significantly altered Kane's ending to satisfy censors demanding moral retribution. In the novel, Garfield's character escapes legal punishment but loses Turner. The film ensures both lovers face justice, though their final kiss before separation remains one of Noir's most passionate moments. Despite these compromises, the film established summer noir's essential formula. Characters making fatal choices while heat strips away civilized restraint, revealing humanity's darkest impulses that cooler weather might have kept suppressed. Number 2. The Long Hot Summer, 1958. Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward's scorching on-screen chemistry wasn't acting. They fell in love during filming in Louisiana's 100-degree summer. Based on Faulkner's stories, this Mississippi-set noir features Newman as a drifter suspected of barn burning who arrives in town during the hottest summer on record. Director Martin Ritt instructed cameramen to shoot through petroleum jelly on certain lenses to create a heat haze effect that makes viewers feel the southern swelter. The production became notorious when Newman collapsed from actual heat exhaustion during the barn-burning sequence. He later claimed this helped his performance. "I understood my character's desperation once I felt that heat really get inside me." The film's success launched Newman's career as cinema's sexiest anti-hero and earned him his first Golden Globe nomination. What makes this noir special is how it uses heat as class warfare. The wealthy characters retreat to air-conditioned mansions while others suffer outdoors, creating a visual metaphor for power dynamics. Orson Welles reportedly called it Tennessee Williams meets crime fiction in the best possible way. Its legacy endures as the first major studio film to use extreme heat as a plot-driving mechanism, rather than just set dressing. The film's source material combines 3 Faulkner works, primarily barn burning, with elements from Spotted Horses and The Hamlet, creating a uniquely southern noir landscape where heat operates differently than in urban settings. Unlike city noir, where characters seek shade, southern noir traps characters in inescapable humidity. Cinematographer Joseph Lachelle captured this distinction by developing techniques to make air itself appear visible through haze effects and specific lighting that reveals dust particles suspended in humid atmosphere. Newman and Woodward's romance became Hollywood legend. Though both were involved with others when production began, Newman was married, Woodward engaged. The Louisiana heat apparently accelerated their attraction. They married shortly after filming completed and remained together until Newman's death 50 years later. Their genuine attraction infuses every scene with palpable tension, particularly the infamous porch swing sequence where they discuss the heat while clearly referring to sexual tension. Orson Welles, playing the Mississippi patriarch Big Daddy Varner, brought additional off-screen drama. His difficulties with the heat were legendary. He refused to film outdoors after noon and demanded portable cooling equipment between takes. This prima donna behavior inadvertently enhanced his performance as a man who uses wealth to insulate himself from conditions others must endure. His famous line, "There are just 2 kinds of people, those who suffer in the heat and those who make profit from it," gains authenticity from Welles's genuine disdain for the location shooting conditions. Director Ritt, himself blacklisted during McCarthy's witch hunts, brought political subtext to the seemingly straightforward story. The barn-burning allegations against Newman's character function as metaphor for how power structures label outsiders dangerous without evidence, reflecting Ritt's own experience with unfounded accusations. This political dimension elevates what could have been melodrama into commentary on how Southern social hierarchies maintain themselves through fear and tradition rather than justice. The film's most visually striking sequence occurs when Newman's character finally confronts the legacy of barn-burning accusations. Shot during genuine twilight with minimal artificial lighting, the scene features actual flames reflecting off sweat-slicked skin, creating chiaroscuro effects that wouldn't be possible in studio conditions. This documentary-like authenticity makes the character's moral ambiguity viscerally believable. We literally cannot clearly see his features through the combination of fire, darkness, and sweat shine. Southern noir differs from its urban counterpart by making landscape itself threatening rather than human-built environment. The long, hot summer pioneered this approach, showing how unrelenting sun and humidity function as inescapable antagonists, creating conditions where moral choices become compromised not through shadows concealing actions, but through heat, stripping away civilized restraint. Number 1. Body Heat, 1981. Florida's scorching summer provides the perfect backdrop for one of cinema's most twisted neo-noirs. Kathleen Turner's femme fatale manipulates William Hurt with such calculated precision that critics called it the hottest film about murder ever made. Director Lawrence Kasdan deliberately overheated the set to 95 degrees during filming, forcing actors to sweat naturally on camera. The film's infamous wind chime scene, where Turner's character describes how little she wears during heat waves, had to be reshot 14 times because test audiences found it too explicit for 1981 sensibilities. Turner later admitted she nearly turned down the role that launched her career because the script required such overtly sexual performance. "I thought it would typecast me forever," she confessed. Instead, it established her as Hollywood's premier femme fatale. The film's success spawned dozens of imitators, none capturing the same sticky, humid tension that makes audience members feel like they need a shower after viewing. Roger Ebert famously wrote, "You can practically smell the sweat through the screen." Body Heat's brilliance lies in how it uses summer heat as both plot device and metaphor. Characters make increasingly poor decisions as temperatures rise, culminating in a finale where Turner's character escapes to a tropical paradise, proving some people actually thrive in the heat that destroys others. Kasdan's directorial debut was a deliberate homage to Double Indemnity, but with critical difference. Removing production code restrictions allowed him to show the sexual content earlier films could only imply. This explicitness wasn't gratuitous, but essential to the film's thesis that heat disables rational thought. As Kasdan explained, in real heat, morality becomes abstract concept rather than governing principle. The production itself suffered from the very conditions it depicted. Filming in Florida during actual heat wave created logistical nightmares. Equipment malfunctioned, film stock degraded in humidity, and actors struggled to maintain energy. Hurt later described it as the most physically uncomfortable shooting experience of my career, claiming he lost 12 pounds during production from constant sweating. Turner's performance gains legendary status from backstage reality. It was her first major film role after soap opera work. Her unfamiliarity with film techniques created genuine vulnerability Kasdan exploited for her character's supposed confidence. The director deliberately kept her off balance by changing blocking without notice and scheduling her most difficult scenes when she was most exhausted. This manipulation, controversial by today's standards, produced one of noir's most complex female characters, simultaneously victim and predator. Cinematographer Richard H. Klein developed specific techniques to capture humidity visually. He used special filters to enhance the glow of sweat on skin and created the film's distinctive look by slightly overexposing daytime scenes to suggest blinding heat, while underlighting night sequences to make darkness feel equally oppressive. His use of neon reflects through sweat created what critic Pauline Kael called carnal lighting, illumination that seems to emanate from aroused skin rather than external sources. The film's sound design contributes equally to its sweltering atmosphere. Wind chimes become audio motif throughout, suggesting how even gentle breezes provide insufficient relief. Air conditioners hum constantly in backgrounds, yet characters remain visibly uncomfortable, suggesting heat penetrates even technological barriers. Composer John Barry created a score heavy on saxophone, an instrument whose sound mimics human breathing, subliminally suggesting exertion even in quiet scenes. The film's most revolutionary aspect was its ending, which inverts noir tradition by allowing the femme fatale to escape punishment. Turner's character, revealed as architect of the entire scheme, relaxes in tropical paradise in final scenes, suggesting she uniquely thrives in heat that destroys others. This subversive conclusion argues that noir's traditional moral universe, where crime inevitably leads to punishment, functions only in temperate settings. In extreme heat, different rules apply, a philosophy that established body heat as the definitive statement on how summer transforms noir from moral certainty into moral ambiguity. Which of these sweat-drenched noirs will you be watching when temperatures rise? Let me know in the comments which film you think uses summer heat most effectively as moral corruption. And here's a question that divides even hardcore film buffs. Can noir truly exist in daylight, or does sunshine fundamentally betray the genre's shadows? The debate rages hotter than these film settings. Where do you stand on summer noir's legitimacy? After all, maybe these films reveal something darker about ourselves, our own hidden desires that emerge only when the mercury climbs past comfort.